Hi, Tom from bknutrition.com, and today I want to talk about the flexible eating evolution, the cycle that people go through from being overweight to getting the body they want, and how they accomplish that by a variation of flexible eating. Now, a lot of people talk about flexible eating, a lot of diet gurus or diet coaches talk about they don't do diet plans and they don't give out diet plans, and they encourage flexible eating to all their clients. Now, this is a very good thing. I do agree with the fact that we shouldn't be giving clients rigid diet plans to follow all the time because they never learn anything. However, I think that idea has potentially carried away with itself, and sometimes people do need a rigid diet plan or some sort of diet plan to follow to be able to gain knowledge of how to eat properly, and then they can progress onto a more flexible pattern. Now, I've done a little diagram, a little infographic to describe that. If you're listening on the podcast, you won't see this, but go to the video and you'll see this, or go to my Instagram or website, you'll see this. And this diagram basically shows you the four sort of cycles or stages that you'll go through when you're trying to get to that body you want. Now, ironically, the first stage that you're at, you're always in a flexible eating pattern. Because when you're overweight and when you're gaining body fat, you actually do have a 100% flexible eating diet, because there's no restrictions on you. You can absolutely eat everything that you want, and so actually you've attained this flexible eating by doing absolutely nothing. That's what you do currently. So we've really got to clarify what we mean by flexible eating. So when we work with clients who are overweight, who are doing the flexible eating diet, we really need to rein that back in a little bit. So we need to give them some sort of plan to be able to restrict their calories so they're not overeating, and also give some idea of what to eat. Now, a lot of people talk about, oh yes, you can eat Haribos within your calories and lose weight. You can, eat Twinkies, eat ice cream, eat McDonald's even, and as long as you're within your calories, you'll lose weight. And all those things are true. I do cover those in my book. However, if you're going to eat things like McDonald's, ice cream, Twinkies, then you're going to find out that you're going to be hungry a lot, because you've got to restrict your calories. So what you thought was a flexible eating is actually becomes a bit of a prison, because you're hungry all the time, because those foods carry a lot of calories. So in the first instance, you go from this 100% flexible eating to you go into what I call a more rigid diet plan. Now, when I say rigid, I don't mean that you have to stick to it 100%, but what I've found is that clients benefit from having a template to eat to. So, for example, we would say, right, for breakfast, we want to have, let's say, 300 calories of whatever, eggs, bacon. Then we would have a lunch, then a dinner, and then we'd have some snacks. So we'd have meals set out, and all these meals are from foods that people like to eat. However, there is some restriction on it, because we want to start people eating the right way. If we say right from the start, all right, here's your macros, and just eat that every day, it's basically a baptism of fire for someone who's potentially not done things like MyFitnessPal before, doesn't even know what macros are, not aware of what protein they need to eat. So those people, and those are I would say about 50 to 60% of people I work with are people who have no idea about what to eat, how many calories to eat, when to eat protein, all those sorts of things. So they do want to start off with a plan. And I sort of analogize this to, if you are learning to ride a bike, then your dad or mum doesn't give you a BMX with no brakes straight away and go, right, off you go, learn how to ride. You would start with stabilizers, and sometimes maybe your parents holding the bike for you while you get used to pedaling. Then you would go with the stabilizers, then you would take the stabilizers off, and then you might be able to start learning wheelies and all the tricks. So there's stages of riding the bike, and there's also stages of becoming competent with your nutrition and your diet. So the first stage is what I call a leaner lifestyle stage, and it's templated meals. But the templated meals are meals that they like to eat. So I would have clients say, fill out a form, all the foods they like to eat, and then I say, right, what meals do you like to eat? And then from that, we construct basically a templated diet plan for a day, which would say, right, for breakfast, you can have, let's say, eggs and bacon or eggs on toast or whatever. Lunch, chicken and rice, or pasta, whatever they like to eat is just examples. And they would have a certain amount of snacks, and the freedom comes there with the snack calories, so they can adjust the snack calories to what they want. So right from the start, they're learning about portion control because they're eating the meals the right way. Yes, they do have to weigh out their meals, they do have to weigh out their food, but they're learning portion control, and that's really important because people often don't have an idea about how the portion that's right for them. If you just say to someone, oh, put onto a plate the food that you think you need to be full, because they're hungry when they do this, they'll always put more food than they actually need. So it's important that we do get them an idea of portion sizes, and that's where templated meals comes in. Now, I also teach people how to sort of swap and change those meals. So although the template might say eggs and bacon, chicken and rice, etc., we will start with teaching them how to use MyFitnessPal or another diet app. There's other diet apps available, and show them how to slot different meals in. So say, for example, we work with chicken and potatoes, we would say, right, here is how to take the chicken out and add steak, and here's how to take the potatoes out and add rice. So you can change things around, and I generally go on protein, carb and fat sources so they know how to change things around. So the templated meals are there, but they can change the foods if they want to. That's part of the learning process. Right at the beginning, clients will often say to me, oh, I don't fancy eggs and bacon, can I have eggs on toast? And I will walk them through how I do it and show them how I do it, so then they know how to do it on their app. It's all part of a learning process, and that's why I don't really like coaches or nutritionists who say, right, here's your macros for the day, off you go, especially with someone who is very new to diets. It might be okay for someone who's been doing that for a while, but a lot of the people I work with are very new to diets, very new to losing weight, and so they need that sort of guidance right at the beginning. So then once you've done that for a little while and you get competent and confident with swapping and changing the meals out to the template, then we can move on to what is the flexible eating, and that is basically macros. I don't really talk about calories because it's all about calories, but it's macro based work. So we say, right, if we want to say build more muscle, we need to eat a certain amount of protein. If we're exercising in the gym a lot, then we probably want to have higher carbs than fats, because carbs are used for glycogen and for muscle contraction in the gym and like doing sort of high intensity exercise. So we would look to tailor the macros to what they are looking to achieve. If they don't really like going to the gym, or like they just like a lot of sort of walking or something like that, then we can go for like a higher fat option if that's what they want to. But the macros will be dependent on their goals, and then once they've got their macros for the day, they might still use their templated meals because the meals will be set to certain macros and calories, but they've got more freedom, so they don't have to have a breakfast, a dinner and a lunch, breakfast, a dinner and a tea, or if that's breakfast, lunch and dinner maybe. They don't have to have 3 meals a day. They can split down to 4 meals. They can have just 2 meals if they want to, because they can change that using their macros to hit their macros. And that is what the flexible eating side of things is about, is tailoring it to your day if it pops up. Because some people might have, say, long meetings at work or whatever where they actually miss lunch, so then they need to have the skill to be able to put that into other meals. So then the fourth stage, and most people do stay at the sort of the flexible eating pattern, because that suits most people. If you work, if you've got kids, if you've got family, the flexible eating style does work for, I would say, 90% of people. The fourth stage is what I call performance nutrition, or an athlete. I'll put athlete on the diagram, but you don't have to be an athlete to do performance nutrition, but that's sort of the sense. And that's where I qualified in my nutrition diploma, was my postgraduate diploma, was doing the performance nutrition side of things. Now, with performance nutrition, you are looking to achieve a certain goal. So sometimes it's winning a competition or fighting or whatever. So your nutrition has to actually be less flexible. And this sort of goes against what sort of should be, say, maybe flexible eating, but the nutrition side of things has to be tailored so that you hit certain macros, certain timings maybe for your workouts, so you're less flexible in what you can do. So someone who is an athlete getting ready for, say, a boxing or an MMA fight wouldn't really be able to have cheesecake in the evening. They'd want to be maybe partitioning their carbs a little bit better and taking in more sort of cleaner sources, if I can use that word, of protein, so they make sure they're maximizing their muscle recovery and maximizing the energy they've got available. So actually the flexibility goes down, but the knowledge and skill associated with doing that goes up. So you can see on the diagram that as the knowledge and skill goes up, the flexibility increases, but actually as we move forward more to the performance side of things, then actually the flexibility comes down. However, that's generally only when people are getting ready for a competition or a fight or a show or whatever. When they come off that and they're into what maybe their off season, we'd probably go back to the flexible eating style, because nobody wants to follow a less flexible plan for much longer, because that does generally tend to lead you off the diet plan after a while and into a binge. So we go back into the flexible eating and go into the macro space until we are then getting ready for another competition or event or whatever. So that's what I could like to call the flexible eating evolution. And it's important to know where you are on that graph before you start taking on any sort of diet advice or start working with a nutritionist. Because if you are completely new to losing weight, if you are overweight, you want to lose weight, got no idea about nutrition or macros or anything else, then it's going to be no good going to work with a nutritionist or a diet coach or whatever, excuse me, who just gives you macros to follow, because you're going to come unstuck very quickly. So especially a lot of these sort of 6-week shred programs which are sold are basically just, they give you macros to follow and then that's it, and you've got to do it yourself on MyFitnessPal. That's not going to work for you if you are completely new to losing weight. You need to make sure at the first instance you've got some sort of templated meal, and then which you can change, obviously be flexible with that. But as you become more knowledgeable, you can move into the traditional sort of flexible eating style. Now I do cover all this in my book. If you get my book from Amazon Target Lean, it will show you how to move through these processes and how to build your own diet plan and do the templated meals and then go into flexibility. And I've also got a load of videos on my channel here which you can watch if you need to, and you can also listen to the other episodes of the podcast. So I hope that was helpful, gave you some insights and maybe give you some ideas about where you need to start if you're completely new to losing weight. Any questions, please put in the comments below, and as always I appreciate your time spent watching this video. Well done on making it to the end, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.